Darius Johnson held his passport tightly as the plane started to land. His heart beat fast in his chest. This was it. A new life waited for him in America. At 32 years old, Darius never thought he would become a mail-order husband. But life had other plans. Growing up in a small town outside of Atlanta, Georgia, Darius always dreamed big. He worked hard in school, taking extra jobs to save for college. His mother, a single parent who cleaned houses for a living, always told him education was the key to a better life. Darius believed her. He studied late into the night, earned scholarships, and finally got his engineering degree. But then came the economic crash. Companies stopped hiring. Darius sent out hundreds of job applications with no luck. He took whatever work he could find, stocking shelves, delivering packages, fixing cars in his neighborhood. Still, the bills piled up. His student loans came due. His mother got sick, needing expensive medicine that insurance wouldn't cover. That's when Darius saw the ad online. Find love abroad, American citizens seeking foreign spouses. At first he laughed. Him? A mail-order husband? But as his bank account emptied and his mother's health worsened, Darius reconsidered. He wasn't foreign, but the agency said they had a special program for American citizens willing to relocate to other parts of the country. We match people based on compatibility and needs, the agency representative explained during their video call. Many successful professionals don't have time to date traditionally. They're looking for committed partners who want stability. Darius uploaded his profile. Engineering degree, no criminal record, non-smoker, no children, willing to relocate. Within weeks, he received a match. Allison Bennett, a 40-year-old accountant living in the wealthy suburb of Meadowbrook, 3 states away. Her profile said she wanted an educated husband who could eventually help raise children. She earned enough to support a family while Darius found work in his field. Their first video call went well. Allison seemed nice enough, a bit stiff maybe, but polite. She had blonde hair cut in a short, practical style, and she wore simple, pearl earrings. Her house looked large and clean in the background. They talked about general things, the weather, books they'd read recently, what foods they liked. Darius noticed she asked few personal questions about his family or background, focusing instead on his education and work experience. I've always wanted to meet someone with traditional values, Allison said. Someone who appreciates family. The men around here just want to date forever with no commitment. Darius told her about his mother, about helping raise his younger cousins when their parents worked late shifts. He spoke of his dream to design buildings that would last for generations. Allison nodded along, occasionally taking notes on a small pad beside her computer. After 3 video calls, Allison proposed their arrangement. She would pay for Darius to relocate to Meadowbrook. They would live together for 6 months before getting married to make sure they were compatible. She would help Darius find engineering work in the area. In return, Darius would help around the house and commit to starting a family within 2 years. Darius thought of his mother, now staying with his aunt because he couldn't afford their apartment anymore. He thought of his mounting debts. He thought of the engineering jobs that might be available in a wealthy area like Meadowbrook. He said yes. Now, as the plane touched down, Darius felt both hope and fear. He had sold most of his belongings to help his mother move to his aunt's house. Everything he owned now fit in 2 suitcases. He was starting fresh. This is a business arrangement, he reminded himself as he walked through the airport. You're providing a service, being a husband, eventually a father, and in return you get financial stability and a chance to restart your career. Still, he hoped he and Allison might grow to care for each other over time. Darius wasn't a romantic, but he wanted a real marriage, not just a contract. During his layover, Darius had spent some of his last dollars on a small bouquet of yellow roses. The flower shop lady told him yellow meant friendship and new beginnings. That seemed right for this situation. He spotted Allison immediately in the arrival area. She wore a crisp blue blouse and white pants, her hair perfectly in place. She looked just like her pictures, but somehow different in person. More real, but also more distant. Darius smiled and waved, clutching his roses as he walked toward his future wife. Allison? It's so good to finally meet you in person. He held out the flowers. Something changed in Allison's face when he got closer. Her smile stiffened. Her eyes darted around, looking at the other people in the airport, then back to him. She took the flowers with a quick nod. Darius. Yes. Welcome. Her voice was cooler than it had been during their video calls. Let's get your bags and go home. You must be tired from your journey. The drive to Meadowbrook was mostly silent. Darius tried to make conversation, commenting on the beautiful houses and green parks they passed, but Allison only gave short replies. She kept both hands on the steering wheel, her eyes fixed on the road. Is everything okay? Darius finally asked. Just tired, Allison said. Busy week at work. We can talk more once we're home. Allison's house was even nicer than it had looked on video. A 2-story brick home with white columns and a perfectly cut lawn. Inside, everything was clean and organized. With matching furniture and few personal touches, it looked like a house from a magazine, not a home where people really lived. I'll show you to your room, Allison said, leading him upstairs. My room? Darius asked, confused. I thought we'd be sharing. Let's start slow, Allison interrupted. We're still getting to know each other. This will be your space. She opened a door to reveal a plain guest room with beige walls and a small desk by the window. The bathroom is across the hall. I've cleared some closet space for your things. Darius set down his bags, trying to hide his confusion. This wasn't what they had discussed. But maybe Allison was right. Maybe they should take things slow at first. I've made a list of house rules, Allison continued, handing him a printed paper. Quiet hours, laundry days, cleaning responsibilities. I like things to run smoothly. Darius skimmed the detailed list, feeling more like a tenant than a future husband. This all seems reasonable, he said, trying to stay positive. Thank you for preparing everything so carefully. Dinner is at 6, Allison said, moving toward the door. I need to finish some work in my home office. Feel free to unpack and rest. She paused at the doorway, not quite meeting his eyes. I'm glad you arrived safely. After she left, Darius sat on the edge of the bed, still holding the list of rules. Something wasn't right. Allison had seemed so different on their video calls, more warm, more interested. Now she could barely look at him. He unpacked slowly, placing his few clothes in the empty drawers, setting his mother's picture on the nightstand. Outside the window, he could see a beautiful backyard with flowering trees and a small pond. This could be a good place to live, to build a future. If only he could figure out what had changed. As he hung his one good suit in the closet, a thought hit him. A thought he didn't want to acknowledge. In their video calls, the lighting hadn't been great. His camera was old, the image often grainy. Had Allison not realized he was black? Was that possible? Had she somehow missed this fundamental fact about him? Darius shook his head, pushing the thought away. No, that couldn't be it. His profile had photos. They had video called multiple times. She knew who she was bringing into her home, didn't she? The first week in Allison's house felt like walking on thin ice to Darius. Every morning he woke up early and made breakfast, hoping to share a meal with his future wife. Most days, Allison grabbed a piece of toast and her travel mug of coffee, before rushing out the door with barely a word. I have early client meetings, she would say, or I need to beat the traffic. Her excuses always sounded reasonable, but her eyes never quite met his. In the evenings, Darius prepared dinner using recipes his mother had taught him. He set the table with the fancy plates he found in Allison's cabinets. He even bought candles, with his dwindling savings to make the dining room feel warmer. You don't need to go to so much trouble, Allison said on the third night, picking at her food. A sandwich would be fine. It's no trouble, Darius replied. I like cooking. My mother always said sharing food builds connection between people. Allison nodded but said nothing more. After dinner, she retreated to her home office or bedroom, leaving Darius alone in the big, quiet house. During the days, while Allison was at work, Darius looked for jobs. He updated his resume and applied to every engineering position within 50 miles. He also noticed small things around the house that needed fixing. A leaking faucet, a stuck window, a loose stair rail. He repaired them one by one, hoping Allison would appreciate his efforts. "You fixed the sink," she noticed on Friday evening. "Thank you." "I did. And the back door doesn't squeak anymore," Darius said, feeling a small spark of hope at her acknowledgement. "I was thinking maybe this weekend we could spend some time together, get to know each other better. There's a farmer's market downtown I read about online." Allison set down her fork. "About that," she said, "I'm having some friends over for brunch on Sunday. I think it might be best if you weren't here." Darius felt like he'd been slapped. "You don't want your friends to meet me?" "It's not that, exactly." Allison smoothed her napkin repeatedly. "It's just, they don't know about our arrangement yet. I haven't found the right time to explain." "Our arrangement?" Darius repeated. "You mean the fact that we're engaged to be married?" "Well, technically we're in a trial period," Allison said. "And these are women I've known for 20 years. They can be judgmental." Darius put down his own fork, his appetite gone. "Is it our arrangement that bothers you, or is it me?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, have I done something wrong? Said something wrong? Because ever since I arrived, you've been avoiding me." Allison looked down at her plate. "No, you haven't done anything wrong." "Then what is it?" Darius pressed. "We talked for weeks before I came here. You seemed interested then. What changed when I arrived?" A long silence filled the room. Finally, Allison spoke in a small voice. "You weren't what I expected." There it was. The words Darius had been dreading. "Because I'm black." Allison didn't deny it. "The photos on your profile, the video calls. The lighting wasn't very good. I thought you were maybe Mediterranean? Italian or Greek, perhaps." Darius sat back in his chair, letting her words sink in. "So when you saw me at the airport—" "I was surprised," Allison admitted. "And I know that sounds terrible. I'm not prejudiced, really I'm not. Some of my colleagues are black. But a husband? What would people say? This is a very traditional community." "Traditional?" Darius repeated, feeling numb. "You mean white?" Allison flinched. "It's not just that. My parents would never understand. They're older, from a different generation." Darius thought of his own mother, who had raised him to believe character mattered more than color, who had worked her fingers raw cleaning other people's houses so he could go to college, who had cried with pride when he got his engineering degree. "So what now?" he asked quietly. "Do you want me to leave?" Allison looked up, guilt flashing across her face. No, that's not what I'm saying. Maybe we just need more time. Maybe if we got to know each other better." But Darius could hear the lack of conviction in her voice. She didn't want him here, not really. She just felt too guilty to say it directly. "I'll make myself scarce on Sunday," he said, standing up and taking his plate to the kitchen. "Your friends won't even know I exist." The next day, Darius walked around downtown Meadowbrook for hours. The town was picture-perfect, with tree-lined streets and charming shops. People smiled politely as they passed him, but he noticed their curious glances. A black man was clearly an unusual sight in this neighborhood. He found a small park and sat on a bench watching families play with their children. A future he had briefly imagined for himself, a wife, kids, a community, seemed to crumble before his eyes. What was he doing here? How had he convinced himself this arrangement could work? On Sunday morning, Darius left the house before Allison's friends arrived. He took his laptop to a coffee shop called Morning Brew and ordered the cheapest item. On the menu, a plain black coffee so he could use their Wi-Fi. He spent hours applying for more jobs, expanding his search to include positions he was overqualified for. At this point, he just needed any income, to get out of Allison's house. When he returned that evening, the house was empty. A note on the counter said Allison had gone to her parents' house for dinner. Darius heated up leftovers and ate alone at the kitchen island, scrolling through apartment listings on his phone. Even the smallest, most basic apartments in Meadowbrook cost more than he could afford. Monday morning, Allison appeared in the kitchen while Darius was making coffee. She looked like she hadn't slept well. "We need to talk," she said, sitting at the island. "This isn't working out." Darius had been expecting these words, but they still hurt. "I know. You're a nice man, Darius. You're educated. You're thoughtful. You're handy around the house, but I just don't feel the connection I was hoping for. Because of my skin color," Darius said flatly. It wasn't a question. Allison looked away. "It's more complicated than that." "No, it's really not," Darius said. "But it's okay. You don't have to explain. I'll start looking for somewhere else to stay." "The agency agreement says I need to provide a return ticket if the match doesn't work out," Allison said, pulling an envelope from her purse. "I've booked you a flight for this Friday. That gives you a few days to pack up." Darius took the envelope, his fingers barely touching hers. "Thank you." "I'm sorry," Allison said, and for the first time she sounded genuinely regretful. "I really am. This isn't who I thought I was. Sometimes we don't know who we are until we're tested," Darius replied. After Allison left for work, Darius sat at the kitchen table, staring at the plane ticket. Going back wasn't an option. Back to what? He had no apartment, no job, and debts that kept growing. His mother was settled at his aunt's house now, and there wasn't room for him there. No, he had to make this work. He had 4 days to find a job and a place to stay in Meadowbrook. It seemed impossible, but Darius had faced impossible odds before. When his high school counselor told him kids from his neighborhood didn't go to college, he'd applied anyway, and got a scholarship. When his first-year engineering professor suggested he switch to an easier major, he studied harder and earned the highest grade in the class. Darius opened his laptop and started a new search. Not just for engineering, jobs now, but for anything. Store clerk, warehouse worker, delivery driver. Something to keep him afloat until he could find work in his field. That's when he saw the posting. Engineering assistant wanted, Goldstein Developments. It had been posted just an hour earlier. The job description matched his skills perfectly, and the office was located right in downtown Meadowbrook. With nothing to lose, Darius polished his resume one more time and submitted his application. Then he changed into his one good suit and walked to the address listed on the posting. If they liked his application, he wanted to be ready for an immediate interview. What he didn't know was that this decision would change the course of his life in ways he couldn't imagine. Goldstein Developments was housed in a tall glass building in the center of downtown Meadowbrook. Darius stood outside for a moment, looking up at the gleaming structure. He straightened his tie and took a deep breath before walking through the revolving doors into the lobby. A woman sat at the front desk, typing quickly on her computer. She looked up when Darius approached. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm here about the engineering assistant position," Darius said. "I just submitted my application online, but I wanted to follow up in person." The woman raised her eyebrows. "That posting only went up this morning." "Yes, ma'am, I saw it and thought it matched my qualifications perfectly." She studied him for a moment, then picked up her phone. "Your name?" "Darius Johnson." After a brief conversation, she hung up and pointed toward a row of chairs. "Have a seat, Ms. Rivera from HR will be down shortly." Darius sat, his resume folder in his lap. He watched people come and go, men and women in business attire, moving with purpose. Most glanced at him with mild curiosity. In the 30 minutes, he waited. He noticed he was the only black person in the lobby. Finally, a woman with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun approached him. "Mr. Johnson, I'm Elena Rivera, Human Resources Director. Thank you for coming in." She led him to a small conference room where she reviewed his resume. "Your qualifications are impressive. Georgia Tech is an excellent school for engineering, and I see you specialized in sustainable building design." "Yes, ma'am. I believe the future of construction lies in working with nature, not against it." Ms. Rivera nodded and made some notes. "We don't usually do same-day interviews, but as it happens, our CEO is in the building today. He takes a personal interest in all engineering hires. Would you be willing to meet with him?" Darius's heart raced. "Absolutely. I should warn you," Ms. Rivera said with a small smile, Mr. Goldstein can be direct. Don't let it throw you off. She left him alone in the conference room. Darius pulled out his phone and quickly researched Nathan Goldstein. The company website showed a serious-looking, older man with gray hair and intense eyes. According to the bio, he had started with a single construction project 40 years ago and built it into one of the largest development firms in the region. 20 minutes later, the door opened. Darius stood up quickly as an older man entered. In person, Nathan Goldstein looked both more imposing and more approachable than his photo. Shorter than Darius had imagined, but with an energy that filled the room. His suit was expensive but slightly rumpled, as if he cared about quality but not appearance. Sit, Goldstein said, waving Darius back to his chair. He sat across from him and placed a tablet on the table. Darius Johnson. Elena tells me. You're an engineer. Yes, sir, I graduated from Georgia Tech. I can read, Goldstein interrupted, tapping the tablet. Good school. What brings you to Meadowbrook? Not exactly a hotbed for young engineers. Darius hesitated. Should he lie? Make up a story about wanting a change of scenery? But something told him this man would see through any deception. It's complicated, sir. I came here for personal reasons that didn't work out. Now I need a job so I can stay. Goldstein's bushy eyebrows rose slightly. Honest, I like that. He leaned forward. Tell me, Mr. Johnson, what do you know about our current project on Oak Street? The mixed-use development? I read about it online while researching your company. 5 stories, retail on the ground floor, apartments above, green roof. It's an ambitious project. Ambitious and behind schedule, Goldstein grumbled. We've had issues with the HVAC system design. The original plans didn't account for the solar gain on the west side of the building. Darius felt a spark of interest. This was a real engineering problem, something he could sink his teeth into. Have you considered a passive cooling system, using the natural airflow from the east side combined with a green wall on the western facade? Goldstein's expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. Draw it for me. He pushed a notepad across the table. Darius sketched quickly, showing how air could circulate through the building with minimal mechanical assistance, reducing energy costs while keeping temperatures comfortable. This would require some redesign, Darius admitted, but not major structural changes, and the long-term savings would be substantial. Goldstein studied the sketch, then looked up at Darius. Where were you working before this? I was between jobs, sir. The economy in my hometown took a hit when the manufacturing plant closed, and yet you turned down job offers to come here? Because I'm looking at your credentials, and someone with your qualifications should have had options. Darius looked down at his hands. I had a few offers, but they weren't in my field. I was working retail and doing freelance repairs while applying for engineering positions. Goldstein tapped his fingers on the table. Ms. Rivera says you applied this morning and showed up an hour later. That shows initiative, or desperation. Which is it? Both, sir, Darius admitted. I need a job, and I want it to be one where I can use my education and skills. Goldstein was silent for a long moment, studying Darius. Then he stood abruptly. Come with me. Surprised, Darius followed him out of the conference room and into an elevator. They rode to the top floor in silence. The doors opened to reveal a large open office space with windows looking out over the town. Goldstein led him to a table covered with building plans. This is the Oak Street project. Show me again where you'd put your passive cooling system. For the next hour they bent over the plans together. Darius pointed out several areas where the design could be improved for energy efficiency. Goldstein asked sharp questions, challenging Darius's ideas, making him defend his suggestions. It felt like the toughest exam of his life. Finally, Goldstein straightened up, rubbing his lower back. Not bad, young man. Not bad at all. Tinquan, you, sir. I'm going to be honest with you. The engineering assistant position is entry-level. You're overqualified. Darius's heart sank. I'm willing to start at any level, Mr. Goldstein. I just need a chance to prove myself. I didn't say I wouldn't hire you, Goldstein replied. I said you're overqualified for that position. I have something else in mind. He walked to his desk and picked up the phone. Elena, draw up a contract for Darius Johnson, project engineer, 2-week trial period, then we'll discuss permanent terms. He hung up and turned back to Darius. I need someone with fresh ideas on this Oak Street project. You'll work directly with my team, starting tomorrow. Darius could hardly believe what he was hearing. Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. I won't let you down. See that you don't. Goldstein narrowed his eyes. Now, where are you staying in Meadowbrook? Do you have an apartment? I'm between places at the moment, Darius said carefully. I've been looking at apartments, but I haven't secured one yet. Between places, Goldstein repeated. Which means what exactly? You're sleeping in your car? A shelter? Park bench? Darius felt his face grow warm. I have accommodation through Friday. I was planning to find something permanent once I had a job lined up. Goldstein sighed and shook his head. Young people today, always living on the edge. He scribbled something on a piece of paper and handed it to Darius. This is the address of the Parkview Apartments. Tell the manager Nathan Goldstein sent you. They keep units available for our employees. It's not fancy, but it's clean and the rent is reasonable. They'll give you a 6-month lease to start. Darius stared at the paper in his hand. I don't know what to say, sir. Say you'll be here at 8 tomorrow morning, ready to work, Goldstein replied. And Darius, wear something comfortable. We might be visiting the construction site. As Darius left the building, he felt like he was walking on air. Not only did he have a job, a real engineering job, but he also had a lead on an apartment. For the first time since arriving in Meadowbrook, he felt like he might actually belong here. He was so lost in thought that he almost bumped into someone on the sidewalk. I'm sorry, he began, then stopped when he realized it was Allison. Darius, she said, looking confused. What are you doing here? He noticed she was with another woman, probably a friend or colleague. Allison's eyes darted nervously between Darius and her companion. I just had a job interview, Darius said simply. And I got the position. Oh, Allison said, clearly surprised. That's good. Congratulations. Her friend looked curiously at Darius. Aren't you going to introduce us, Allison? Of course, Allison said, her cheeks flushing. Susan, this is Darius. He's staying with me temporarily. Darius, this is my friend Susan Parker. Nice to meet you, Darius said politely, shaking Susan's hand. He noticed Allison didn't mention their engagement or even call him her boyfriend. He was just someone staying with her. Well, I should go, Darius said. I have an apartment to look at. As he walked away, he heard Susan asking Allison questions about him. He didn't wait to hear her answers. That chapter of his life was closing. Tomorrow, a new one would begin. The Parkview apartments weren't fancy, but Darius didn't mind. His 1-bedroom unit had clean white walls, basic furniture, and a small balcony overlooking a community garden. It was more than enough for a fresh start. The manager, Mrs. Chen, had given him a knowing smile when he mentioned Nathan Goldstein's name. Mr. Goldstein is a good man, she said as she handed him the keys. He's helped many people over the years. The first month's rent is already paid. He said to consider it. An advance on your salary. Darius was touched by the older man's kindness, but he was determined to earn his keep. He wouldn't accept charity, only opportunity. That night, he called his mother to share his good news. I knew you'd land on your feet, she said, her voice crackling over the phone. You always do. And this Goldstein fellow sounds like he recognizes your talents. How are you feeling, Mom? Darius asked. Is Aunt Lena taking good care of you? I'm much better. The new medicine is working. Don't you worry about me. You focus on your new job. After hanging up, Darius spread his few belongings around the apartment, trying to make it feel like home. He still needed to get his things from Allison's house, but that could wait. Tonight he wanted to prepare for his first day at Goldstein Developments. The next morning, Darius arrived at the office at 7:45, dressed in khakis and a button-down shirt as Mr. Goldstein had suggested. The same receptionist from yesterday greeted him with a friendlier smile. Mr. Goldstein is waiting for you in the conference room, she said. Coffee's already there. Darius found Nathan Goldstein sitting at the head of a long table, surrounded by 5 other people and a stack of blueprints. Ah, there he is, Goldstein said when Darius entered. Everyone, this is Darius Johnson, our new project engineer. Darius, meet the Oak Street team. Goldstein introduced each person: Carlos, the lead architect; Priya, the structural engineer; Ben, the project manager; Taylor, the sustainability consultant; and Leo, the city liaison. Darius shook hands with each of them, trying to memorize names and faces. Darius has some interesting ideas about the ventilation system, Goldstein said. Carlos, show him what we've been working on. The team spent the morning reviewing the building plans. Darius listened more than he spoke, absorbing the details of the project. When he did offer suggestions, he made sure they were thoughtful and well-reasoned. The problem with the west-facing apartments isn't just the afternoon sun, he explained, pointing to the plans. It's the reflection from the glass building across the street. It creates a magnifying effect. Carlos looked impressed. How did you know about the building across the street? That wasn't in the plans. I walked by the site yesterday, Darius admitted. I wanted to see it for myself. Goldstein exchanged glances with Ben. Initiative, that's what I like to see. After lunch, they all drove to the construction site. The Oak Street project was already halfway built, with the steel frame complete and workers beginning to install the exterior walls. Darius walked through the structure with the team, asking questions and making notes. If we adjust the angle of these louvers, he suggested, pointing to the western facade, we can block the worst of the afternoon sun while still preserving the views. That would mean redesigning part of the exterior, Ben said, looking concerned. We're already behind schedule. But ahead of budget, Goldstein reminded him. And think of the long-term energy savings. Priya, what do you think? Is it feasible? From a structural standpoint? She nodded slowly. It would require some adjustments, but nothing major. I'd need to run some calculations. Do it, Goldstein decided. Darius, work with Carlos and Priya on this. I want a revised design by the end of the week. For the next few days, Darius threw himself into the project. He stayed late at the office working with Carlos on the new design. The architect was initially skeptical of Darius's ideas, but became more enthusiastic as they worked through the details. This could actually work, Carlos admitted on the 3rd night as they reviewed the 3D model. And it looks good too. The louvers add visual interest to the facade. Form following function, Darius said with a smile. The best designs do both. On Friday afternoon, the team presented their revised plans to Goldstein. He listened silently as they explained the changes, his expression giving nothing away. When they finished, he stood up and walked around the table, examining the models and drawings from different angles. The additional cost? He asked finally. About $70,000 up front, Ben said. But the energy savings will offset that within 5 years. And we can make up some of the time by streamlining the interior finishing schedule. Goldstein nodded slowly. Do it. And file for an energy efficiency tax credit while you're at it. That should offset some of the costs. As the team packed up their materials, Goldstein motioned for Darius to stay behind. Your 2-week trial ends next Friday, he said when they were alone. But I've seen enough. The job is yours permanently if you want it. Full benefits, competitive salary, the works. Darius felt a wave of relief and pride wash over him. I want it, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Don't thank me, Goldstein said gruffly. You earned it. Your idea is going to save us money and improve the building. That's what I pay you for. On his way out of the building, Darius checked his phone and found 3 missed calls from Allison. He had almost forgotten about her in the excitement of his new job. He called her back, stepping outside to take the call. Darius, where have you been? Allison asked when she answered. I expected you to come back for your things. I've been working, he replied. I got an apartment and haven't had time to stop by. Oh. She sounded surprised. So you're really staying in Meadowbrook? Yes. I start a permanent position at Goldstein Developments next week. There was a long pause. I've been thinking, Allison said finally. Maybe I was too hasty in ending our arrangement. We could try again, take things more slowly this time. Darius was stunned. What brought this on? I ran into Susan again yesterday. She couldn't stop talking about you, how professional you looked, how well-spoken you were. And then I heard from a client that Goldstein Developments is a prestigious firm. Not everyone gets hired there. Now Darius understood it wasn't about him at all. It was about what others thought, how he looked to her friends, what his job meant for her social standing. Allison, he said gently, I appreciate the offer, but no, what we had wasn't real. You couldn't see past my skin to the person underneath. I deserve better than that. That's not fair, Allison protested. I'm trying here. I'm admitting I made a mistake. The mistake wasn't rejecting me, Darius said. It was judging me by my appearance rather than my character. I'll come by tomorrow. To get my things, he hung up, feeling lighter somehow. A week ago, her rejection had crushed him. Now he saw it as a blessing in disguise. If she had accepted him, he might never have found his way to Goldstein Developments and the chance to use his skills. The next day, Saturday, Darius borrowed a company truck from Ben and drove to Allison's house. She opened the door wearing a pretty dress, her hair freshly styled. I made lunch, she said, smiling nervously. I thought we could talk while you pack. That's not necessary, Darius replied. I won't be long. He went upstairs to the guest room and quickly packed his few belongings. When he came back down, Allison was waiting in the living room. You're really not giving us a second chance? She asked. Darius set down his suitcase. Allison, a week ago you couldn't bear to introduce me to your friends. Now you're interested because I have a good job and your friend Susan was impressed. That's not a basis for a relationship. People can change, she insisted. Yes, they can, Darius agreed. But it takes more than a week. I wish you well, but my future is elsewhere. As he drove away from Allison's house for the last time, Darius felt no regret. Ahead of him lay a new job, a new home, and new possibilities. He hadn't come to Meadowbrook looking for any of these things, but somehow, they had found him. That evening, Nathan Goldstein called to invite him to Sunday brunch. Nothing formal, he said. Just a chance for you to meet some people outside of work. My wife makes excellent blintzes. I'd be honored, sir, Darius replied. Enough with the sir business, Goldstein grumbled. It's Nathan, and bring your appetite. Darius smiled as he hung up. For the first time since arriving in Meadowbrook, he felt like he might actually belong here. Not because of an arrangement or a contract, but because of his skills and character, his true value. 6 months passed quickly for Darius. The Oak Street project was nearing completion, and his design changes had worked even better than expected. The building was already winning praise from environmental groups for its energy efficiency. Nathan Goldstein had given him a raise and put him in charge of the sustainability aspects of all new projects. Sunday brunches at the Goldstein home had become a regular part of Darius's life. Nathan and his wife Ruth treated him like family. Their home was warm and welcoming, filled with books and art from their travels around the world. Ruth, a retired teacher, often said that Nathan had an eye for talent and a heart for people. My husband may act tough, she told Darius one Sunday while Nathan was taking a business call in his study. But he knows what it's like to be judged unfairly. When he started his business, many banks wouldn't lend to him because he was Jewish. That's why he gives people chances when he sees something special in them. Darius had made other friends too. Carlos from the architecture team had invited him to play basketball with a group of guys from work. Priya often asked for his input on her projects. Even Mrs. Chen from the Parkview Apartments had adopted him, bringing him homemade dumplings and introducing him to her niece, though Darius politely explained he wasn't ready to date yet. Meadowbrook was starting to feel like home. Darius had sent money to help his mother move into a better apartment. He called her every Sunday to share his progress. I'm proud of you, son, she always said. I knew you had greatness in you. One morning in early fall, Darius was reviewing plans in his office when Nathan knocked on his door. "Got a minute?" the older man asked, settling into a chair across from Darius's desk. "I have something big to discuss with you." "Of course," Darius said, setting aside his work. "The Oak Street project has been getting a lot of attention," Nathan began. "The mayor called me yesterday. The city wants to build a new community center with a focus on sustainability. They want us to bid on it." "That sounds like a great opportunity," Darius said. "It is, and I want you to lead the design team." Darius sat back surprised. "Me? Not Carlos or Priya? They'll be on the team, of course, but your vision for energy efficiency is exactly what this project needs. The city wants a building that will use minimal resources and serve as an example for future development." "I don't know what to say," Darius admitted. "Thank you for your trust in me." "There's more," Nathan continued. "If we win this bid, and I think we will, I want to create a new division within the company focused entirely on sustainable building. Green Goldstein, we'll call it. And I want you to head it up." Darius could hardly believe what he was hearing. 6 months ago, he had been desperate for any job. Now he was being offered a leadership position in a major company. That would mean a significant promotion, Nathan added. "Vice President of Sustainable Development, your own team, your own budget. What do you think?" "It's an incredible opportunity," Darius said. "I'd be honored." "Good. The mayor is hosting a dinner next week to meet potential bidders. Wear your best suit." Nathan stood to leave, then paused at the door. "Oh, and the Meadowbrook Business Association is giving me their Lifetime Achievement Award at their annual gala next month. Ruth and I would like you to be our guest at our table." After Nathan left, Darius sat quietly, taking it all in. The shy boy from Georgia, who had worked so hard for every opportunity, was now being offered the chance to shape the future of building in this community. His mother had been right all along. Education and hard work could open doors even when prejudice tried to close them. The following week, Darius attended the mayor's dinner at Meadowbrook City Hall. He wore his new suit, purchased with partie of his recent raise. Nathan introduced him to the mayor and city council members as the future of Goldstein Developments. Darius spoke confidently about his vision for the community center, a building that would serve the people while respecting the environment. As he mingled with the city officials, Darius noticed a familiar face across the room. Allison was there, with an older man who appeared to be her father. She was staring at Darius with an expression of disbelief. When their eyes met, she quickly looked away, whispering something to her father. Later in the evening, as Darius was discussing solar panel options with a council member, Allison approached him. "Darius," she said, her voice unnaturally bright. "What a surprise to see you here. Are you working for the catering company?" The council member looked confused. "Mr. Johnson is the lead designer for Goldstein Development's bid on the community center. He was just explaining some fascinating energy conservation techniques." Allison's face flushed red. "Oh, I didn't realize. Darius and I are old acquaintances." "Ms. Bennett's father is my accountant," Darius explained smoothly to the council member. "We met briefly when I first came to Meadowbrook." After the council member moved on, Allison stepped closer to Darius. "You didn't tell me you were working on projects like this," she said quietly. "You didn't ask," Darius replied. "You only cared about what I looked like, not what I could do." Before she could respond, Nathan joined them. "Darius, the mayor wants to discuss the solar roof options. Oh, hello," he added, noticing Allison. "I don't believe we've met." "Nathan, this is Allison Bennett," Darius said. "Her father is an accountant here in town." "Bennett? Frank Bennett's daughter?" Nathan asked, recognition dawning on his face. "Frank does our personal taxes. Small world." "Yes, Mr. Goldstein," Allison said, clearly impressed to be speaking with Nathan. "It's an honor to meet you. I was just catching up with Darius. We're old friends." "I wouldn't say friends," Darius corrected gently. "We had a brief arrangement that didn't work out." Nathan looked between them, understanding in his eyes. "Well, Ms. Bennett, you must be very proud of your old acquaintance." Darius has revolutionized our approach to building design. In fact, we're creating an entire division around his ideas. Vice President Johnson here will be changing the face of Meadowbrook, one building at a time. Allison's smile froze on her face. Vice President? That's impressive. It's well-deserved, Nathan said firmly. Now if you'll excuse us, the mayor is waiting. As they walked away, Nathan squeezed Darius's shoulder. Was that her? You knew? Darius asked, surprised. Ruth guessed. Something about the way you reacted when we first invited you to our home, like you were expecting to be judged. She said someone had hurt you badly when you first came to town. She rejected me because of my skin color, Darius admitted. She couldn't see past it to who I really was. Her loss, Nathan said simply. Her very significant loss. The night of the Meadowbrook Business Association Gala arrived a few weeks later. The event was held at the Grand Hotel, with hundreds of the town's most prominent citizens in attendance. Darius sat at the Goldsteins' table, alongside Ruth and other executives from the company. He noticed Allison seated with her father at a table near the back of the room. When it was time for the awards, Nathan was called to the stage to receive his Lifetime Achievement Award. His acceptance speech was brief, but powerful. Success isn't just about making money, he told the crowd. It's about recognizing value in unexpected places. 50 years ago, many people in this town wouldn't do business with me because of my religion. I learned then that prejudice isn't just morally wrong, it's bad business. You miss opportunities when you judge people by anything other than their character and abilities. Nathan gestured toward Darius. 6 months ago, a brilliant young engineer came to Meadowbrook. Some people couldn't see his potential because they were too focused on the color of his skin. Their loss was my gain. Darius Johnson has helped transform Goldstein Developments with his innovative ideas. The buildings we create together will stand long after all of us are gone, using less energy and serving the community better because of his vision. The crowd applauded and many eyes turned toward Darius. He sat straight in his chair, emotion welling in his chest. From rejection to recognition in just 6 months, it seemed almost unbelievable. After the ceremony, many people approached Darius, eager to meet the young engineer Nathan Goldstein had praised so highly. Business cards were exchanged, connections made. Even the mayor stopped by to discuss the community center project. As the evening wound down, Darius stepped outside for a moment of quiet. He looked up at the stars, thinking of how far he had come from that desperate day when he arrived at the airport with nothing but hope and a bouquet of yellow roses. Quite a night, said Nathan, joining him on the terrace. Now, how does it feel? Overwhelming, Darius admitted. 6 months ago, I was a mail-order husband being rejected for my skin color. Now I'm designing buildings and being introduced as a vice president. The world can change quickly, Nathan agreed. But your value was always there, Darius. I just recognized what others couldn't see. Thank you for that, Darius said quietly. For seeing me. Nathan smiled and patted his shoulder. The best thanks you can give me is to do the same for someone else someday. See the person, not the package they come in. Darius nodded, looking back at the stars. I will, he promised. I absolutely will.